Hey guys! Alright, I'm back. So, sorry for the low quality, doing this on my home computer. It's not the greatest. Alright, so I'm going to talk about the types of dancing during the jazz age of the 1920s. There were three main types. There was the foxtrot, the tango, and the charleston. So the foxtrot was danced in 4/4 time. It included basically a walking motion and then a small period of like variation, which really could involve anything. The main goal of the foxtrot was not really show off. It was more to be rhythmic and to connect with your partner. So people did the variation of anything they wanted, but it wasn't, as flapping and crazy as the Charleston. It was danced to all types of music. So when the tango was popular, it was also danced to tango music. Anything that had a 4/4 beat or that could be made into a 4/4 beat, people danced the foxtrot too because it was so easy and so universal that it really just conquered everything. So there were two main types of jazz at this point, and we talked about jazz with Hannah. But there was sweet jazz and then there was hot jazz. So the sweet jazz was more melodic and flowing, whereas the hot jazz was a little bit more peppy, as goes the name. But the foxtrot was danced to all of these types of jazz, and the main mark of a good foxtrotter was how they could fit the music. So if it was a hot jazz song and someone danced very slowly and smoothly, they were not a good foxtrotter because they couldn't listen to the music. So that was basically how people judged others on the foxtrot. Then we're moving on to the tango. So the tango was introduced to the French by Argentinian visitors in 1912. So a little before the 1920s, I know. But it really gained popularity in the 1920s because of the 1921 film, The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which starred the big star of the time, Rudy Valentino, and his very seductive dance. I don't know. It's not that seductive. I looked at it. There's a video on the tango slide. It starts at 2:35. It has him dancing. If you guys have time, you can listen to it. You can watch it. It's okay. I mean, it's not, crazy. But the tango you'll see in that video is very different from the modern tango. The modern tango, we think of like a lot of posing and, like scissor steps and all this like very dramatic, incredibly flary stuff. But back then it was really not a dance of all that flair. It was kind of like the foxtrot, but with knees a little bit bent and like a little more drama in how people were. And there was some posing in it, so people just stopped for a couple seconds and then went on, so stopped for a couple beats. But it was really not, this modern theatrical version of tango, which people say is the real version of tango. So this was not the classic version of tango. It's not like people say it's not a real tango. It was very common in social settings because it was, the new hip dance of the time. It was against all the social norms and all that stuff. And there was a very close pose between people. So this was the same with the foxtrot, but it was even more noticeable with the tango because it was even more of a modern dance. So people were very, very close to each other. They held each other quite literally, cheek to cheek, if you know the song. And yeah, so these were dances that were really between two people. And this one was a little more about other people, like showing off, but it wasn't nearly as much as the Charleston, which we'll now move on to. So the Charleston was what we talked about earlier. I hope you guys know how to do the Charleston now. It's very exciting. It was a very showy dance, as you can see. There was a lot of flapping your arms, like showing off how fast you can move your legs. And so it was part of a movement called the Youth Dancing Movement, which included dancing such as like the collegiate dance, and there are a bunch of them. But this was the first one and the most widely known one from the 1920s. It was more energetic and showy. So whereas the tango and the foxtrot were really about the connection between two people, the Charleston was a more for the pleasure of other people and for your own pleasure, just like dancing, having fun, letting completely loose. There's a partner version of the Charleston, but really it's mostly known for its solo versions. And the people who danced these solos were called flappers because their arms flapped. So as you're going around, they can do whatever they wanted with their hands, which is why I looked so bad in the video, but I was trying to be a flapper. This is all because people were now free, women didn't have to wear these restrictive corsets that, were so common in the early 1900s. So people were able to move their arms, because those were not very good for dancing before. But now people are able to move their arms. They have free waist, because they had the drop waist stuff. Like, women were able to move, and so they expressed that by dancing the Charleston. And that is all that I have on the Charleston. I hope you guys have a good day. I will see you tomorrow.